Simgot! EM10, another Harman IM joining the ranks of prestigious Harman IMs out there on the market. As we all know, we have the Supermix 4, we have the Nova, we have the Xenns Top, and the variations, and a few more, but these four tend to be the most talked about ones. So where does the EM10 fare against those four IMs? In this video, we'll find out. Hey friends, Timmy here, welcome back to another video on Giz Audio. Today we have the Simgot EM10 review, a Harman tuned IM. Now, if you guys do not know what Harman is or are unsure because there's so much misinformation out there on what is indeed Harman, I suggest you check out Super Review's video where he explained all of it in great details. Now let's start off the review with the tuning, shall we? This thing is a Harman tuned IM, so it does come with all the benefits that a Harman tuned IM has. Number one being that it sounds quite spacious. There's a clear separation between the bass and the lower mid-range, so vocals and instruments don't feel like they're being overshadowed by the bass in any way. And speaking of the bass, this is where the EM10 kind of deviate a little bit from other Harman tuned IM, if you will. This thing has extra bass, especially in the sub bass, so the rumble comes through quite strong. Now, some might think it's too strong. For me, I think it's really fun. And again, due to how well separated the mid-range is from the bass area, the sub bass, even though there's a lot of it, sounds like it has its own little pocket. It's not really bleeding into the mid-range in any way. So even though it's a lot, it still sounds relatively clean. On to the mid-range itself. Now this is where there are like two camps to this. One side that really likes Harman mid-range because of how well separated it is, because of how open it sounds, how energetic it sounds. And then there's the other camp who really doesn't like Harman like mid-range because it sounds a bit too thin, male vocals sound like they're in the background. And in the case of the EM10, both of those things are true. Both camps are correct because again, it is a Harman tuned IM. It does come with all the benefits of a Harman tuned IM and also some deficits of a Harman tuned IM. So it really depends which camp you're on here. So if you tried the Supermix 4, the Nova, the variations, or the Xenns Top before, and you like those mid-range, chances are you're going to like the mid-range on the EM10. However, if you've tried those four before and you never really liked the mid-range on those, you're probably not going to like the mid-range on the EM10. I will say one thing though, is that the EM10 doesn't sound nearly as thin as like the variations, as the Nova especially, and as the Supermix 4. The EM10 kind of sits closer to the Xenns Top with the way it handles lower mid-range, so yeah, it's still somewhat thin, but not as thin. And moving on to the treble, and this is where the EM10 is slightly bit different from the other four IMs once again, and that is because the EM10 is probably the darkest of them all. I'm not gonna call the EM10 a dark sounding IM, but in comparison to the other four's treble, the EM10 is noticeably more relaxing, which leads to the EM10 to have somewhat of a smoother timbre than a lot of the other ones I mentioned, and also the most non-offensive timbre and treble as well. Now this does come at a small, very small sacrifice of micro nuances, some shimmer and shine, and overall incisiveness. Overall though, it is a slightly bit tamer, easier to listen to, bassier version of your typical Harman-like tuning. And I think Harman fans, they're going to enjoy this. Next is technical performances. Bring up my scale right here, and I would say the EM10 lands right around the Blessing 3. Same place as where I would put the variations, and slightly bit behind the Xenns Top. And I would say an upgrade over both the Supermix 4 and the Nova. Next is the comparison segment, and of course we have the four other Harman tuned IM that I've been talking about over and over again throughout this video. Let's start off with the Supermix 4, and I would say the EM10 is a clear upgrade. It is much easier to listen to, more relaxing sounding. Supermix 4 might come across as more detailed and maybe a bit more nuanced in the treble, but overall, timbre-wise, the EM10 easily takes the cake, and as a full package, I enjoy the EM10 much more. Versus the Nova, I would say I also enjoy the EM10 more because the Nova is a bit thin and the EM10 is more well-rounded and balanced overall. So EM10 is an upgrade both over the Nova and the Supermix 4. Versus the variations though is where I think the EM10 kind of meet its match in a way. The variations just sounds cleaner. It sounds more incisive as well, and also the treble is handled better. I think the EST drivers in the variations is just so well implemented. I still think it's one of the best EST implementation on the market today. On the EM10, it has a piezo driver, which is notorious for the piezo driver's sing, peakiness in the treble, if you will. Credit to the EM10 though, it doesn't have any of those qualities. Like the piezo driver here is actually implemented exceptionally well as well. But I still think the variations with their EST sound better here in the treble department. Now would I say the EM10 loses by a long shot versus the variations? I would say not at all. It's like splitting a few hairs. It can easily swing either way. I can see some people liking EM10 more. I can see some people liking variations more. So even though I prefer variations personally, you can easily prefer the EM10. Next is the comparison with the Xenns top. Now these two have a lot in common, being that they're a Harman-tuned IEM with a little bit more meat to the bone. I will say though that tech and treble nuance wise, the Xenns top is still better to me. So same comparison with the variations, I prefer the Xenns top, but I can also easily see someone prefer the EM10, especially if you like a more relaxing treble presentation. Final verdict time, EM10 gets a halfway green thumbs up. It's an upgrade over the Nova and the Supermix 4, and a very small downgrade from the variations and a Xenns top. Alright, that is it for this video today. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you tried the EM10 before, let me know down in the comment section below what you think of it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out and bye.